Hello everyone and welcome to the importance of growing your pool of direct locums. This is probably about the 15th webinar in our series. We've been doing these since early 2020 and this is a really important one. But before we get started, I'll just allow most of the attendees to join. I can see there's still a few people joining. While people are joining, I'll just talk through a little bit of housekeeping. So we like engagement in these webinars. So if you have any questions, you should see a little questions box underneath on the right hand side at the bottom of the right hand panel. What that'll allow you to do is to input any questions and we will answer those as we go along, or at the very end we'll do a Q&A. But if it's pertinent to the point of the presentation, we'll be happy to answer them. As well as that, there's also a chat box, so if you want to put in your names, that will be great. And like I said, as much engagement as possible in these webinars. It's always better whenever we have some interesting topics raised by the attendees. So yeah, that's the housekeeping. And again, like I say, we will share the recording of this webinar straight after tomorrow by lunchtime. So this webinar, like I said, is called The Importance of Growing Your Pool of Direct Locums. My name is Stevie McIntyre. I'm the marketing lead here at Located Locum, and I'm joined by Peter Hickson, who's our sales director. Peter, do you want to just introduce yourself?
Yeah, good evening, everybody. I'm Peter. Yeah, I'll be taking you through some of the slides towards the end of the presentation. But yeah, I'm the sales director here, so working very closely with Stevie. So it'd be good to talk you through some of the slides later on.
Fantastic, thanks, Peter. Yeah, it looks like most people have joined now, so we'll start the presentation. So who are Located Locum and why are we doing this? If you don't already know us, you should know us if you're on the webinar, and you should know what we do. But if you don't already know us, the most familiar thing that we do is our marketplace solution, which is on the right hand side of the screen here. This is essentially our locum booking platform. So whenever you have a need of a locum, you can post the shift to our live marketplace, and this will automatically list it on our website. And we have a pool of 15,000 plus locums who use our platform. So that's how you fill a shift. We also have our workforce management product, and the workforce management product in a whole is aimed at getting you the right person in the right place at the right time. So we have our rota and leave, and this allows you to create shifts on a rota. It also allows you to manage leave requests. So with leave requests, this creates gaps in the rota. And then we have our bank product, which is what we're going to touch on today or this evening. And we also have our expense management product, and that looks after locum expenses or direct expenses or employee expenses. We also have time and attendance. So if you obviously have a physical premises, you will want your pharmacist to check in and check out and automatically create timesheets so you can run payroll and things like that. We have our really intuitive reporting suite. So what this allows you to do is access key insights in your pharmacy business. One such report that Peter's going to touch on, which is our market rate report, which allows you to see the market rate sweet spot for locums in your area. So Peter's going to touch on that later, and that'll really show the power of the reports. So we're all about data at Located Locum. So the more you put in, the more you can get out, which is fantastic. So that was a whistle-stop tour of our product suite, and hopefully you found that useful. And if you've got any questions about any of the areas of our platform, please drop in the chat box below. So what are we going to cover tonight? So the agenda is, first you're going to look at challenges in the market and why are we doing this webinar, the pharmacy landscape and rising rates, as everyone's aware of. We're then going to look at growing your bank pool to avoid store closures and how do you grow that bank pool in such a challenging market. We're then going to look at growing your direct locums, and then we're going to talk about how to engage those direct locums, because you can have a bank pool, but the engagement is actually the important thing here. And then Peter's going to take you through some features in our software that can help engage and grow your bank pool, and also just streamline your whole set of services relating to staff. And then we'll do obviously a Q&A at the end. So what we always do in these webinars is we start off with a poll. So what do you want to get out of this webinar? So what I'll do here is I will share a poll. You should see it pop up on your screen. If you could just answer this, we'll give 30 seconds to answer it, and then we'll be able to get the results. So here you can see, what do you want to get out of this webinar? You want to learn how to grow your locum pool, learn how to engage your locum pool, learn how to reduce costs, or all of the above. So if you just click on the one that you like, I can see most of the people have done it already. Really quick responses here, which is fantastic. Okay, yeah, that's everyone's completed. So thank you very much for being so quick. So I'll just close the poll and I'll share the results so you should be able to see this. So amazing. Everyone wants to know all the above. So you're in the right place this evening. Which is really great. This is exactly what we wanted. These are all the things we're going to cover. So absolutely brilliant. Thank you. Okay, so you should be able to see my screen again. So why are we doing this webinar? What's the purpose? So we're going to talk about challenges and the locum landscape. So as you can see here, here's some of the challenges. Staffing costs account for up to 15% of community pharmacy spend, which is crazy when you think of it, and that really sort of dictates why we're looking at this webinar, because ultimately if you grow your direct locum pool, you'll reduce the need for emergency shifts or going out to locums at higher rates. Supply of locums is obviously decreased. COVID-19 has impacted on the number of pharmacists that have been able to register. So that's a supply and a demand issue. So if the supply is decreased and the demand is increased, then obviously the rates are going to rise, and obviously you're going to need more to call on direct pool of locums more. Rising rates, again, this is part and parcel of the above point. Due to increased demand, the reduced supply means rates are rising. As well as that, there's alternatives now to community pharmacy. We've seen people go in GP practices, as well as that, there's vaccination centres that have a huge pull on pharmacists. So now more than ever, it's important to control costs by growing your direct locum pool. So that's what we're going to touch on. Just related to what we talked about, and sort of to give this all a bit of context, I mentioned before that Locate a Locum likes data, and we obviously have a lot of shifts posted to our platform. So we recently said that we posted over 1 million shifts on our platform, which is an incredible stat. We did a rate study in 2020, and it was based on 300,000 shifts and looking at the average rate by region. So here you can see on your screen the average rate by region across the UK. The full average rate was £20.50p, and you can see the various rates there split by geographical region. But just to illustrate the need now to focus on your direct locum pool, the first quarter of 2021 has seen a rise of £2, nearly £2.20 in rate. So that just emphasises the fact that rates are rising. There's an increased demand for locums, so if you get your direct locum pool growth, you won't need to rely on locums as much. So that just emphasises it, and you can see that. And if you want, you'll get the recording in your inbox, so you can look at this in more detail. And we also have a full rate study PDF, which is about 10 pages, and it's split up by the top 50 cities in the UK by average rate, and then we look at factors that influence those average rates. So what we say at Locate a Locum is there's really two sets of factors that influence rates. So there's internal factors, which are factors that you're in control of, and there's external factors, which are factors that you're not in control of. So this slide looks at the external factors that you're not in control. So supply of locums and demand for pharmacies for their services. You're not really in control of that, because you as a pharmacy can't dictate how many locums there are in the market. And you can't dictate how many locums the people around you, the pharmacies around you, require. You also can't dictate the day of the shift. So weekend shifts demand a higher rate because it's unsociable hours, and many locums will require a higher rate to do weekend shifts. The time of the shift as well. So unsociable hours again require a higher rate. We've seen this with a lot of our overnight pharmacies, that they'll naturally have a higher rate because they'll need to convince locums by that rate to come and work. And then holidays, obviously, so you're completely not in control of that. Holidays always dictate a higher rate. So Ramadan and Christmas holidays often see our record rates at Locate a Locum. So these are things that you're not really in control of. You just have to be aware of whenever you're posting shifts. So like I say, you would probably never do this, but if you're posting a shift on Christmas, then obviously look at the market rate around Christmas and try and get as close to that as possible, or look at the sweet spot and try and get as close to that as possible. So what are you in control of? So there's a number of internal factors influencing rates that you can control. So firstly, which is really important here, is the size of your locum pool. So how many direct locums you have. So having more direct locums will undoubtedly reduce the rate you have to post at, because there's more people to take on that shift, and you can notify this pool of locums. How you manage leave, it's a very strange one. Not many people think of this as in terms of like influencing factors of rates, but if you think about it like this, if you have a process in place to manage your leave, it means that you'll have a policy as well. So a month, you could say a month before, we don't accept leave requests a month before. So that means the minimum time you post a shift for would be a month in advance. And that allows you to forward plan for gaps. So you could post a shift out knowing that one of your permanent members of staff is going to take leave in 30 days, and then it doesn't have to be an emergency rate shift. So that would be one thing that I would keep in mind whenever you're thinking of ways that you can reduce costs in your pharmacy, just posting shifts further in advance. The third one is how quickly coordinators send shifts. So the speed in which, if you're lucky enough to have coordinators who send your shifts out, the speed in which they post the shifts is very important. So what that allows to do is understand the best rates by regions. So also the reports that we have on Located Locum, if you know the market rate sweet spot, then you can have rates at a perfect rate, shifts at a perfect rate, I should say. So use metrics and data to find the rate. That's a fairly simple one, and just something you should always be aware of. Like, I suppose don't be posting shifts blind. Try and get as much data as you can in the area. So like Peter's going to touch on the market rate report. It's a really strong report that just quickly at a glance can give you a market rate sweet spot. That means you're not posting the shift too high, but you're also not posting the shift too low that you don't get any applicants. So how to deal with these challenges? We've just talked about the challenges, talked about the rates. So what can you do as a pharmacy to deal with this? Well, we think there's a couple of things you can do. So number one is grow your direct locum pool. But how can you do this? So I'm going to take you through a couple of methods. I'm going to talk about understanding what bank staff want. So that's the how to grow. Referrals. So using referrals to grow, and advertising. If it gets this, it doesn't need to get the advertising, but if it gets that, ways you can advertise in order to grow your pool of direct locums. So first up, I talk about understand what your staff want or locums want, or understand what directs want. So how do you understand what they want if you're not speaking to them? So what I would say is do a survey of anyone who's locumed in your pharmacy, and do a survey of all your permanent staff. What makes your pharmacy a great place to work? This will allow you to do a couple of things. It'll allow you to advertise to the correct audiences. It'll allow you to know your company USPs, which are unique selling points. It'll also allow you to improve. If there's anything in staff or other locums that highlight, you can take note of these and you can action them almost immediately. And it'll also help you dictate the sweet spot for rates. So you could ask a question, what rate would you work for on a Saturday? And if your direct locums are telling you the rate, then that's what you should post it at. You know, there's no point posting it and not getting any applicants. One interesting thing is here, I talk about understanding what your staff want or what direct locums want. We did a survey on behalf of one of our clients, and interestingly, we found out that locums were actually attracted to this pharmacy because there was parking, and it came above rate or came above salary, and it came above working conditions or anything. They like parking, which you wouldn't really automatically consider to be something that would attract a locum to work somewhere. So if you think about it like this, you know, there could be, if you don't even have parking, or you don't talk about the parking you do have, there could be really intuitive ways that you could, or innovative ways that you could address this. You could say, we'll pay for your parking if you're a direct locum, and that could be, say, £5 a day. But over an hourly rate, that would actually be less than you'd be paying for like the hourly rate increase to attract more locums. So having thought about like that, perhaps that is something you can consider, and that's just an idea that came from one survey that we did. So can you imagine what sort of ideas you would get if you did your own survey? So that's one thing I'd suggest. That's the first thing. The second thing, this is a bit of a strange one. People often don't consider this. So you will have pharmacists working in your pharmacy, very obviously, and these pharmacists will more than likely still be in contact with people who they've gone through pharmacy school with, or they'll be in WhatsApp groups with other pharmacists. So what I would suggest is ask them for referrals. If you're looking to grow your direct locum pool, ask your pharmacist, your permanent staff, or your other directs for referrals of other people who you could add. There's a couple of crazy stats here. So referred customers or pharmacists and employees have a 37% higher retention rate. That means they'll work and work again, and they're 37% more likely to do that. And then again, this next stat just reinforces it. Employee referrals are 4 times more likely to work. And also the good thing about this is if you're one of your employees refers a locum bank, you can ask them what they're like. You can ask them, and you can almost get a character reference from your employee, someone who you trust. So I think this is a really, really underutilized thing. And the other thing is there's no cost to asking your employees to refer. But if you did want to really make it attractive for your employees to refer, you could say, okay, we're going to give a small incentive for referrals of anyone in our bank, and that the cost per acquisition of that person would probably be lower than if you went to advertise. So just something to consider. And the next one, nice segue onto that, talking about advertising and do better advertising. So by using the survey, you'll be able to understand who your ideal market is, your ideal locum is, or your ideal pharmacist. And this will sort of dictate where to target them. One thing I'd say is utilize social media, and a lot of people automatically think social media, well, Facebook and Instagram. But what you'll find is that healthcare professionals, and particularly pharmacists, often don't have their job role listed on their Facebook profile. So this makes advertising them quite tricky, because you're not targeting someone who you might be targeting someone who's not a pharmacist and just is within your target audience. So what I would say is use LinkedIn as a platform. It's got a better cost per acquisition. So what that means is it's lower cost per click for someone on your ad. And secondly, you almost have a full CV online that you can look at of the people who've clicked onto your ad, and you can target people who work in pharmacies or whose job is locum pharmacist. So I would say that's a really strong one in advertising. The next one is to understand where your audience hang out online. Like, there's no point in even if you've employed a marketing team, there's no point in saying to that marketing team, advertising display ads, and display ad is on the Telegraph website, but no pharmacists read the Telegraph website. You're better having a display ad on a pharmaceutical journal, for example. And then lastly on this is, like, if you're sending them somewhere, a lot of companies send people who they want to recruit either permanently or to direct pool to a homepage of a website. But if you think about a homepage of a website, there's a lot of noise on a homepage, and your homepage of your pharmacy's website will more than likely be targeted at your consumers, which are your patients, or the people coming into the pharmacy. So it might be tricky for someone landing on that to find where to go to submit their CV or register their interest. So what I would say is make sure a landing page or wherever you're pushing people is as frictionless as possible. Make it clear, make it concise, and make it easy for them to sign up to your direct pool or to sign up as a permanent member staff or submit a CV. So that brings me on to our landing page. So once you take on our workforce management platform or our bank product, you will get your own dedicated branded landing page. So this one here is for Lal Pharmacy, and this kind of emphasizes what I was talking about. Really clear, one big chunk of text that you can target to, or you can customize to whoever is landing on it, and then a really simple form. Like, these are all the main things that you need, because you can follow up with a phone number. One thing in marketing is that the more fields on a form, the less likely someone is to fill it in. because you're creating friction. So collect information that's going to allow you to manually reach out. And once you've got that engagement, then you'll be able to sell the benefits of working at your pharmacy. So this is part of the lab platform, and this is something that Peter's going to touch on later on in the presentation. So how do you engage your bank pool? We've talked about growing it and some methods that we can use to grow a bank pool. But how do you engage it? And this is again something that Located Locum platform can handle. So one thing I would say is, I wouldn't say, I've said here really bluntly, email is dead on this slide. I wouldn't say it's dead, it's dying. It's on its way out. For example, personally, I get about 60 emails a day to my personal email inbox. I'm lucky if I read 10 of them. So if you're sending shifts out to people by email, it's unlikely or less likely that they're going to look at them. So how do you resolve this? So instant communication is better, because it's the waiting that kills you. So you'll notice a lot of pharmacists are moving to WhatsApp. So they get a read receipt, and there's 2 ticks that says and someone's read it. If you send an email, you don't really know if someone's opened it, and if you're specifically asking them to fill a shift, you don't know if they have accepted or declined that shift, and you might think someone's going to accept it and you won't take any further action, and this could lead you to have to post it at an emergency rate in the future. So I said here, it's the waiting that kills you. The Located Locum platform allows people who get shift notifications that are in your bank to accept or decline, which is really good. So you get a yes or a no. So sometimes getting a no is better than just nothing. So posting live shifts as well. So the ability to post the shifts live, and what this means is that you're not just phoning people and telephone ping pong. Like we've heard pharmacy managers saying in their evenings they spend time trying to fill shifts and lifting the phone to people, and it's not a good use of time. So get into people's pockets, get straight to their mobile phone, have a SMS or a push notification sent, and really engage them. And you'll find that people who are in your direct pool will be more engaged if the communication's better, because they'll just have a better user experience than really just getting a phone call. Not many people answer the phone, and if they see an unknown number, they won't answer it. So I would say SMS and push notifications are great. Our platform allows you to review applications and ensure compliance is met at all times. It also just improves communications. You can instantly notify your locum pool within a certain area when a shift's available. And then also you can notify managers of whenever applications are ready to view. So it's not this whole thing of checking your messages or checking your emails if someone's emailed back. You'll get a notification on your phone telling you that an application's ready to view. So at this stage, I'm going to hand over to Peter. Peter's just going to take you guys through a few more features of the Located Locum platform and how it can help grow and engage and just streamline pharmacy operations. So I'll hand over to you, Peter.
Yeah, thanks, Stevie. Stevie's obviously gone through the why and even in some respects some of the how. But obviously now I think we understand why we need to improve and increase our direct locum pool. What I wanted to do now is just talk you through how we do that within the Located Locum software. And crucially, there's 2 pieces of news here. The first piece of good news is that it's not a unique problem. You know, a lot of pharmacy chains across the country are having the same sort of problems, but the better news to that is our software solves those problems and has solved those problems for numerous pharmacy chains around the country. So as Stevie was touching on before, in some respects it's not necessarily the size of the locum pool. Yes, we can help grow it, but actually it's also about how you engage with that locum pool that will help to, first of all, reduce costs. It will also help to reduce your dependency on external agencies, but it will also improve efficiency within the business, saving on admin across the entire organisation. So this first section of the system here that I just wanted to touch on was how you effectively schedule shifts through the system and through the rota product that we have. So you literally can section out the system as you need to. So ultimately within here, you've got the ability to select the relevant position that you're looking to publish a shift for. You can actually define the hourly rate. You've got the option there to look at negotiating that as well with the applicants if you so wish. And and literally setting the shift allocation up as you need. So you've got the start and end time and the unpaid break accordingly. Another section of the system actually allows you to set limits of rates that you can negotiate or request approval for, therefore giving you that control over the rates as well. And in addition to that, once you actually publish these shifts out, if you have a locum that you've used regularly in the past and prefer using a particular locum, you've got the facility within the system to what we call instantly book. And what that will do is literally that it will instantly book that locum into the shift, therefore giving you that control and actually enabling you, as Stevie said before, to schedule your rota out many months in front, therefore reducing the need to look for last-minute shift requests and therefore higher costs. This is an example of the app-based technology that we have, and indeed this is what you will see with the technology. So, from your perspective as a potential pharmacy, you will get a notification, instant notification for anybody that's applied to a shift. You can see there you've got the ability to book or reject accordingly. You also have internal notes, so that actually is a facility whereby you as a pharmacy manager or whoever can actually apply notes to that applicant to say, you know what, brilliant applicant, let's use them again, or let's not use them in the future. So you've got that control over it. And actually, all you're having to do then effectively is manage the exceptions. You're not having to literally trawl through various different applicants. You can literally just manage those exceptions as they come through. So yeah, next slide please, Stevie. So this is a further indication as to actually how the system looks and works. You can see here that you've got two applicants. You've got a direct, effectively a direct locum, and then you've got a locum that's come out of our marketplace, which is two separate sides of the coin, as it were. So here you've got the facility to book your direct locum if you so wish, or with the locum that's come through our marketplace, you've got the ability there to look at view negotiation. So they may have proposed a certain fee, and you can literally negotiate or decline as you see fit. So the beauty of looking at a locum is you have the ability to grow and communicate better to your direct locum pool. But in addition, you've also got the safety net of what we call our marketplace, which is a bank of around 20,000 pharmacy professionals that you can take advantage of if you so wish. You can see on the top right-hand corner, you can see that there's two applicants ready for the shift, and you literally book as you need, or turn on the instant book function, as I mentioned earlier on. Next slide, please, Stevie. So yeah, what we do within Locate a Locum is we provide the full suite of products for you to manage the locum pool, and indeed any staff member if you so wish. And actually this is a further element of the system. It's the expense management system. So what this enables you to do is effectively speed up the process and make it much more efficient for managing locum payments through the business. Indeed, from a locum's perspective, the user experience there is it speeds up the payment to them, therefore making them more likely and perhaps more of an advocate to work with your pharmacy chain, because the expense side of the system that you would operate with us enables that faster payment situation. But you can see here, I touched on before, it's all about managing the exceptions. So literally the system, the expense management system will work in the background, and all it will actually end up doing is making you manage those exceptions. So what I mean by that is, if there are any elements of lateness perhaps, or anything outside the normal parameters of what you would pay a locum, it will produce a report for you, and you literally just have to manage those as you need. The rest of the system will run in the background. It can equally link into other payroll systems accordingly through our APIs in the background. Next slide, Stevie, thanks. So yeah, Stevie touched on this before, but we do also have a leave element of the system. And as Stevie was alluding to earlier on, being able to manage leave through the platform, first of all, reduces the manual processes and paper, obviously, less issue in terms of the staff members knowing exactly where they stand from a leave perspective. But as we were saying earlier on, it actually enables the pharmacy to better plan and plan forward in terms of shifts and last minute shift requests, because you literally can have your diary segmented for the full year if you need to, with everybody's leave already allocated into the system. And behind the scenes, our platform will literally publish those gaps out to either your direct pool or further out into our marketplace. So much more streamlined, much more efficient, and therefore driving down your costs and less reliance upon external agencies. Next one, please, Stevie. Yeah, so again, this is a unique report to Locator Locum, and indeed it is very powerful. It gives the pharmacy the ability to make those data-driven decisions around, as we mentioned earlier, what the market rate is currently versus actually what the spend is that you're currently looking at. So a customer of mine recently commented that they're sometimes requesting, or sometimes the locums are requesting it currently for up to £45 per hour for a weekend shift, which is just astronomical. Now, part of the reason behind that is because it is very last minute, but also, as Stevie alluded to earlier on, that is the way the market is at the moment. However, sometimes you will find that actually you're offering much more than you even need to. And indeed, with our software, as I said before, it gives you that ability to make those data-driven decisions. But indeed, you can actually manipulate the system to give you the information that you need. A further feature that we're looking at going further down the line is actually a suggested rate. So the system will be intuitive enough to actually come back to you and say, look, this is a suggested rate for the shift. And actually, it takes the thinking away. And of course, you then have the capability above that to, as I said before, negotiate or not. So yeah, a very powerful report, and that is a report that's available with the full software package. Next slide, Stevie. I think, are we there now? I think.
Yeah, that's the market one, Peter.
Brilliant. Back to you, Stevie. Yeah.
So sorry. Yeah, that was the technical problem. Couldn't click through on the next slide, which is lovely. So yeah, this is just a quick case study testimonial from one of our clients who Weldricks Pharmacy uses, and they actually came to us with sort of three main challenges: high agency and locum costs, lots of last minute shifts, and just making sure everyone was compliant. It was sort of an administrative burden. So we implemented our platform. I think it's been about 18 months they've had in fully up and running. And they've seen 50% reduction in unfilled shifts, 100% enablement reported. So this is 100% of staff saying that they love the platform. They've eliminated all paper processes related to rota management. So they used to have a paper rota, and now it's all digital, online, accessible for their staff. They've improved visibility, and I think that's alluding to their reports. And obviously 100% of their locum and bank pool is compliant, which is exactly what we wanted. So yeah, and they've also, like Peter said there, they've also managed to get their rotas up to 9 months in advance for relief and permanent staff. So that's a really good result for Weldricks. So that's kind of the end of the main bulk of the presentation. The next stage is the Q&A. Aware that we're coming up to time now, but we'll run through a couple of questions. There's been some that have come in while we've been talking, but if you have any more, just pop them in the questions box, and Peter and I will try our best to answer them. So the first one I can see here, it's a question around it's a question around rates. So someone's asked what is the influencing factors. I'm not sure if you mean you joined a bit later and you mean the influencing factors. I kind of touched on this before. So there's external factors which you're not in control of, and there's internal factors that you are in control of. So one of those factors might be the ones you're not in control of are the day of the shift. And one of those factors you are in control of is how quickly you can post a shift in terms of how far in advance, and that will be something that like our lead platform would help. So hopefully that answers the question. If it doesn't, feel free to elaborate, and we can dig into that a little bit deeper. Another one here is what's the highest rate you've seen? I think Peter touched on £45 per hour there. I think in terms of daily rate, I've seen £60 an hour, and that's a holiday day. I think that was Christmas Day or New Year's Day. But in terms of a one-off hour rate, I think I've seen one up to 70 to 90 up for a one-off hour. And if someone, also another question just on this, what region is the highest rate? So I think when we did the 2020 study, Plymouth was the highest rate city in the UK on average. So that was looking at all the shifts posted in Plymouth. Can't remember off the top of my head what exactly that rate was, but I'm happy to share it out afterwards on the email follow-up. Yeah, so yeah, it's one for you, Peter. Is there anywhere we can see the platform in action or have a look at the bank solution?
Well, yeah, definitely. You know, by all means, we can share the details across, and I can obviously follow up accordingly. But certainly, at any given point, we can jump into a demo as you need to.
Brilliant. Yeah, so hopefully everyone found that useful. That's all the questions for now. If there's any more, feel free to pop them in the box just while we close. I said at the start of the webinar, what we usually do is we send the recording by lunchtime the following day. So tomorrow at lunch, the recording will be in your inbox. We post it on YouTube as well, so it's accessible at all times. And as well as that, we usually have a PDF that supports everything that we've talked about, so you can refer to that without having to listen to Peter and I talk, which hopefully has been pleasant anyway. So yeah, that I suppose wraps up the webinar. We always schedule in about 40 minutes for these, so bang on time. And I'd like to say firstly, thank you to everyone who's attended. Like, it's really great to have such a good turnout. Especially, we know you're busy at the minute, potentially covering shifts as well. So hopefully, if you decide to progress our platform, we can help with that. And yeah, Peter, do you want to just say some goodbyes?
Yeah, thanks again. You know, and it's been a pleasure to talk to the people involved here. But yeah, again, I'll certainly follow up separately. If anybody obviously wants to take the time to jump on a demonstration, I'm happy to do that. But yeah, expect some communication from us, and we're here as a resource as you need. Thank you.
Perfect. Thanks, Peter. Thank you, everyone. I'll just close it off there. Have a good evening.